Thank you, John. Thank you, Vikas. It's lovely to be here again at Newcastle. Um, yeah, thank you for the invitation. And it's a pleasure to read for y'all this evening. This book came out of 3 years of solitude, complete solitude, before COVID. It was a conscious choice, and I say in the introduction that I call it my Walden Pond years because I wanted to reconnect to myself in a very different and deeper way because I came out of a very long relationship, a marriage which turned out to be emotionally abusive. So I had to find who I was again. So it became a real quest of who am I? Who is this? What am I creating? And what is the world? And where do I place myself in it? So, so I will actually read the very last poem, which is the poem that I wrote during the pandemic, which is called The Great Pause. And it has a epigraph from the Upanishads. Spirit without moving is swifter than the mind. I must ring of silence for the pair of goldfinches alighting on the sill do not see me, nor the robin that rootles by my feet at the lake shore. 3 fields up a green lane, tributaries of cows pour towards me from a knoll when I pause by the gate to play Beethoven's Silence. Ah, the ease after allowing the heart its truest desires. The way we witness each other sets me chuckling all day to think of it, and the absurdity of human posturings and facades. 3 paced notes, the next folding down as if marking a page, a fifth to flip to what's next. Corteza has somehow read the texture of my own perception. Wake at no crack of dawn glow. Some days the sun is flung from a dry stone wall, finally loosened from years of weathering. This dying craft is everywhere. From a high cliff, there are the partitions of a maze at ground level we absently steer by. On such grey days I wonder, how did I not see the pleasure of peeling an orange before? A traced golden mean of the outspiraling rind echoes the pale blue-tinged snail shells I bring back from the fell as I walk the metaphor, it seems to me, of pilgrimage, as if to escape some sentence, as if my being alive depended on it, over the fell and down to the church and back up again. Bones begin to rise to the skin through strata of earth. In an algae-filtered jade glow in the woods, I'm empty and full all at once. I must have stood still so long that on turning I startle a stag. The incredible intimacy of a hovering moment of communion, then the quickening into 2 different entities. And I know suddenly that it is not necessary to go anywhere. Where I keep arriving at is at the perimeter of that metaphor with no stone altar. A limp thing, so easy now to turn away from. Again and again the trail flows me, at first through barren gullies, then solar flares of gauze like remembrances. Elsewhere, early purples fat bullions of dandelion, hyacinth, multiplying like the tendency of energy to repeat the paths it once took. Never remaining, they play some great game of pass the baton. Or are they circles of prayer? Next, Ramzan, yarrow, foxglove, oak, rowan, birch, that waited like hungry ghosts, becoming happy Buddhas. Not a thing notices me. I am no go-between. I am so light the fell lifts me up. But the first brown valley stays with me, a faint overlay, like the thing I had forgotten, now afraid to lay it down, afraid to remember it completely. Such a human predicament. Still, the fell lifts me up, the horizon of breath is endless. In the city, the wind used to be white noise. Here, I am deep in its throat. I am the cord through which air flows to give utterance to the world. City by city, country by country, the world is shutting down. The longer I go without speaking, my own voice weakens. But the wind moves, touching everything. All there is this ever alteringness. And into it, from Argyle, David sends me an inner landscape of a magnolia Campbelli, cleaved in a gale. He says, modest good news in bad times. They are flowering for the first time, 18 years since planting. It reminds me of a Zen temple, a dawn-drawn stupa with a jade filial against an immaculate backdrop of a lake in mist. I respond with a two-ply song, the first cuckoo of the season, then a hullabaloo above the treetops, the fierce pair climaxing a whodunit. He sends wild seas at the Atlantic edge near Jura, and an island faintly visible. It's where Orwell wrote 1984, he says. From Cumbria, I send the unearthly radiance of dew, the delicacy of worlds poised on a single vaulted blade of grass, like the blessings of a friendship, and 1,000 moons jostling on a tiny white feather. Oh, how water accepts and keep accepting light. One day, a cloud of rosy Himalayan primula he rescued from a crumbling castle, progeny of Joseph Hooker's Sikkim sapling, he says. Soft rain today, badly needed. I sent lamps scalloping hot afternoons, macros of bees, those little flame bearers. All this looking out, and when from habit I return to my history, it is all gone. Beneath the coordinates of who I was when I arrived here, there's been a great undoing of a story. Beginnings, middles, imaginary places. My ongoingness is elemental, not willed, but a happening. I am the lightest emboss on air, like Ariadne's corona borealis, tossed on the lawn backlit by hoarfrost, or the astonishing flight of Pegasus overhead my scrying app makes visible. With trial and error, there's Cygnus, splendid upon a rug. Or Sagitta, the arrow Heracles buried in the eagle fretting on Prometheus's liver. Someone once said, resurrection needs a body, immortality needs a soul. It's as if constellations hidden in plain sight have been declaring again and again, may you inherit the kingdom of yourself. All this time, where was I lost? Who is this rising through the strata of earth? Who is this walking me home through twilight? The next one I'll read is called Beloved. I grew up in a Buddhist background, but um, it's a very strict Theravada Buddhist background, so it's quite different from uh, the Tibetan Buddhism that's fairly commonly associated with Buddhism in the West. So it's very strict. So uh, there's no sense of allowing for an idea of God or um, um, how best can I say this? In Tibetan Buddhism, there are gods that are um, in different planes of existence, but not in the monotheistic sense of the god. So in Mahayana Buddhism, it's a very strict rebuttal of the idea of God. Beloved, Mother believes I will roam from sorrow to sorrow in the endless tracks of samsara, because I refuse to renounce the exquisiteness of this perishable world. Colors are the most essential qualities of a thing, what lines writes Milosh. He is thinking of Cézanne. Having puzzled over the demarcations of color, I see lines are fences that keep each one safe, yet imprisoned within. This I, being the first person, suffered the same fate, hemmed in by a narrative from life's unspooling mystery. Isn't the greatest terror of the heart like the golden tiger that's caged by the freedom it senses in the spaces between bars? Yes, there have been comings and goings, the burning tunic of the body, distant music, but none have moved your heart just so, to this exact pitch. I am not my beloved's, my beloved is not mine. One day, when all the divisions of your heart have given themselves up, you sit suffused in jewel filtered light beneath the rose window. And finally, know love. Love that comes too late, perhaps, for this dwelt world. When love, with all its tensors, has wandered in circles when all the impostors are gone. Perhaps the most austere practice is not the relinquishment of the sins of the senses, but the necessary forfeiture to know the true essence of the beloved. Then you is like earthrise, distant enough to see clearly and staggeringly beautiful. Not a state of enchantment, but a recognition. Like the moment I catch myself in the mirror and for the first time do not flinch. Catch us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes. When we say you are loved, how often do we mean, I see you? Jacob, waking, believed God was in the place the dream was dreamt and erected a visible monument. My palm shall never graze the temple of your body, beloved, but I feel the rough stubble of hair in new cut grass. As the ocean accepts rivers or rain, each of us accepts love differently. And sometimes we are unable to receive being too full of the terror of the thing asking to enter us. Buddha believed prayers were wasted wishes. There was no beloved listening for a human voice. But if reality rests on the invisible scaffolding of our senses, could we too not be all color? Prayer alters nothing in the world, but I am changed. Then where would I place my devotion? Timidly I unclothe my heart, separate the I within the I. I watch how they concertina. Must I have one voice? You who have listened in silence, would you hear me if I gave breath to all the songs within me? Would I hear yours? Beloved, who gave the first of my beginnings, you can never know the lineaments of my hunger to experience all of this given life. May you be spared is her unuttered wish. As I set out alone on a far journey she could not map or follow. I remember the small craft that contained and brought me to this day. I remember the child no more than 6 or 7, with a wooden clothes horse laid flat on parquet, crouching in an improvised galleon in carpentry, never meant for seaworthiness. But faith is the child with the fortune of tropes. Something stirred in the wood and gave way to ocean. Something nestled in the mind and leapt into freedom. There's always the thing beneath the desire asking to be seen. And this dawn, when I walk stiffly at the edge of the ocean, that roar too is differently heard. Beloved, it is what becomes of I when I am next to you. Sorrow so full of possibilities that never quite took shape, like a wanderer's shelter find me. You and I separately walk as if on delicate sun trails of musk, walk through the last village into the interior. For how else shall I remember? I am my beloved's, my beloved is mine.